though I think it's $9.09, not 90 cents.
Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Self.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Sharon Brown, for your presentation. And I agree with Mr. Francisco about the mental health aspects of incarceration and how that is impacting it, especially with so much drug and alcohol abuse that we have in our community. When all said and done, I will be supporting Measure S. With the state's situation, how would it be affected? You know, you haven't received the grant, and if the grant is withdrawn, I guess we would have to go back to the voters for more money to get them to re-up for this. And I think there is a very strong anti-tax. We've had enough. The state is talking about raising income tax levels, again raising car licensing fees, and they're going to be digging deeper into us all along. So I'm not sure about the success of this because of just enough is enough. But I agree that it is something that's needed. And my understanding, I hope you'll correct me if I'm wrong, is that when someone is stopped for, say, a minor infraction, and there are warrants for their arrest, that they have to have one warrant that is, what, $5,000? They could have a total warrants of $15,000, but if one isn't the $5,000, they are released. And I agree with Mr. Francisco that I'm big on accountability. Ask my kids. But you know, that's not acceptable to the rest of us out here who are obeying the rules, are paying our taxes, and it's just where we are. Maybe more parents should start with that attitude. We might not have it when they reach the age of consent. Thank you.
Thank you. I also want to thank the sheriff and everyone for being here and for your presentation. I'm going to give one very brief local example how I think all three components could assist us in the city, and that's at the Cabrillo ball fields. There's a situation where there's a number of, as Mr. Francisco said, quality of life infraction type issues that occurs there. It obviously affects the businesses in the area, it affects the shelter in the area, it affects community concerns. We've heard multiple times we need additional police enforcement there, and whether it's a beat coordinator or something else. And our dollars are so stretched, we try to do what we can, but it's obviously not as ideal as it could be. And then when infractions or misdemeanor type things come around and hand out tickets, they treat it as scrap paper because they know, those who receive the infractions know that there's no consequence for it. So there's no consequence for their actions, and that action continues. And on top of that, if they had the intervention programs available to them, whether they make it into jail and have a jail discharge program where there's a place for them to go and treatment available so they can turn their lives around, or maybe something as part of something out of the jail, then perhaps we can hopefully change some of that behavior and people can move on to self-sufficiency. All those items are in Measure S. And that's something that's a very real and a very local situation that I know we've been dealing with for years. Something a lot more, a little fence around Cabrillo ball fields can be able to fix. And so if that's what, in terms of our priorities and what it means for public safety and the quality of life for everyone, I'm really looking forward to hopefully this passing in November. So I appreciate your initiative and support for this.
I'm prepared to make a motion, and I make it in deference to self-determination, accountability, and a wise investment for the future that will directly return dividends to the cities and to the county. And I think that's the framework that we can all come together in a very nonpartisan way. I do ask one of my colleagues to reconsider at this moment, but in any case, I wish him well because I think we should go forward with this. I move that Council direct staff to return to Council with a resolution of support for Measure S 2010. Second.
Okay. Motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Okay. Is that 6-1? Yes. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We're going to move on to item number 8. Santa Barbara Summer Direction. Around today. It is 3:45. There's some of us that really want to go to a very special memorial service. I plan to adjourn in Bob Potter's memory today. We're going to do what we can in the time that we have. I have a whole lot of public speakers here. We do want to hear what you have to say. A lot of you have spoken on every single meeting there is on Planet Santa Barbara, so I have a feeling, we have the general sense of what the comments are. If you could be as succinct as possible, so the majority of our time here could be spent with the council giving direction to staff, because that's really what is needed in order for us to move forward with this process. So let me just ask you, should I just move right into public comment? Do you want to do a presentation first? Because we can do the public comment first and then really get into our discussion.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have 2 items for staff presentation. Some comments from Mr. Dayton about the transportation demand management and parking, and then other circulation policy discussion with the council. And then the subject of the size, bulk, and scale building height and density discussion. So we had intended to have Mr. Dayton and then council discussion, then Mr. Ledbetter and council discussion. So I think it would probably work best just to hear from the public at the onset.
Okay.
Otherwise, they'd be wading through.
I'm going to be really strict with the time, so just heads up about that. Jerry Bunin is going to start, followed by Megan Berman. Good afternoon.
Thank you. Jerry Bunin, Government Affairs Director, Home Builders Association. I came because I heard that I had been misquoted by building costs by an opponent of density. So I want to be clear on what the Home Builders Association position is. Construction costs increase per square foot as unit size decreases, because you're only eliminating walls and airspace. Cheap stuff, the big cost is in kitchens and bathrooms. Overall construction costs are also impacted by land prices, the amount of time the builder owns. What density doesn't do and what new housing don't do is cause growth. New housing is a reaction to population growth. New housing and density are where your jobs go at night, where your children go when they grow up, get married, and have their own children, and where your successors will go when you retire and don't move. I'm under my 2 minutes. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Megan, let me just ask, I have Mickey Flax, a whole lot of names on here. Are people waiting their time for you?
No, they're all here.
Okay, so you're not asking for, you want to go after all of them? I understand. Okay, Megan, and then followed by Michael Holiday.
Good afternoon, Mayor Schneider, Council. My name is Megan Burney.